Hello, this is Don Hall. This is at Don Hall Works YouTube channel. And once again, I'm up at Quail Kilns in Murphys, California with a very fine potter, Bob Price. And he's going to demonstrate for us today, step by step, how to put a cane handle on your work.
So first I thought I'd start out by just going over some of the supplies you need to accomplish this task. It's very simple. There's not a lot to it. The first thing you're definitely going to need is some cane to do the weaving. I'm using a number 1 cane, which is fairly thin, but I use a lot to give it some girth. And then this is a 1/4 inch round piece of cane. You can see it's got a rounded top to it, and that just gives it a nice finish when you're using it to bind the smaller cane. But if you go on Amazon and look at basket weaving cane, there's just lots and lots of options. These are the ones I picked, and they come in a huge quantity. So whatever you order, you're going to get a massive quantity of stuff for the rest of your potting career, probably. All right, we're going to start out by making a handle for this small teapot. It's been sitting without a handle for about 40 years, so it's about time to have one. So I've pre-cut strands for the pot here. They're about 18 inches, and the good news is, but once we get done, we can trim them even more down to size and what the look you want. So we're going to cut, I have about, I guess, 7 or 8 of these, which will give us a nice size handle when we go through. So the first step we're going to do is take the cane and actually take it through the lugs that were added to the pot. And here's another example of a lug. And you can also just do it through a hole in the side of the pot if you didn't want to make a handle like that. So then what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to take them through the 2 lugs, and these are not very big ones, so it'll take me a second to get through them. There we go. We're just going to take it through to the middle point. At this point, you're going to try to decide what size handle you want for your pot. So again, this isn't a very big pot, so I'm not going to have a super big handle. So I'm taking the bottom part that I took through the lugs and pushing it up, and then looping these around. Before you start doing anything else, you're going to need a little friend to help hold this for you. There's a couple things you can use. It's another use for your little secure tie from your clay bag. And I've also in the past used zip ties. It doesn't matter, either one works fine. And I think we all have plenty of these around. So all I'm doing with this is twisting it tightly around it just to hold it while we get started. So you can see it's pretty evenly spaced on both sides, and we'll have a nice handle when we're done. Okay, now's the point we're going to use the 1/2 inch round to actually weave this together and create a handle. So the first step is to bend it like this. One thing I did forget to mention at the beginning is that you'll need a bucket with some water in it, and you need to soak these at least overnight. I put these in the bucket yesterday afternoon, and they're nice and flexible. If you don't, they'll break because it's very brittle. So at this point, I'm going to take the 1/2 round, and I just make a little loop out of it. And we're going to start down at the bottom, wherever you decide how far up you want the loop. You put this in place. You're going to start wrapping it. And you're wrapping it around that little piece that you bent up. So you're kind of locking it in place. And when you start, you're pulling quite a bit of this, and you just have to be patient because it takes a little while. And you want to wrap it as tight as you can because again, you're creating your handle and you're binding all this together. I'll do a couple of wraps and then we can move my fingers and take a look at it. And this is going to be the process pretty much all the way across the handle. And you can do it in any style you want. I'm putting them pretty close together, but you can also space them out if you want to see more of the smaller reed underneath. And you're just keeping your hand on it as you tighten it so it doesn't loosen up and let loose, because it will. So at this point, I'm going to grab the top pieces on this side, and I'm going to include those in what I'm wrapping. So when we're done, it can either look like this with you can keep the fringe out, or you can trim it up real nice, depending on what look you want. So again, at this point, we just keep wrapping. And it gets a little easier to wrap as this gets shorter. So at this point, the twist tie can come off because you've got enough wrapped up that it's not going to unravel, and you don't really need any help holding it. And you just keep wrapping. One thing you want to look for is make sure you kind of have it balanced as far as the fringe ones. And I'm going to start going underneath those now. And like I said before, we can always trim those off if you have too many or not enough, or you want more fringe and then less, and there's different looks. You keep going until, again, you want to have both loops about the same size. So you just keep wrapping until you get this side to look like that side. All right, we'll do one more. And then we have to get it closed up. So essentially the handle's done. We need to take a piece of it. We'll cut it off and take a piece of it and stick it back up in there. It's sort of making a knot so it finishes the whole loop and won't come unraveled. And what I usually do is cut it at an angle so it's kind of an arrowhead. Just makes it easier to go underneath the other piece. What we're going to do now is we have this cut, and like I said, I cut it with kind of in a point so it's just easier to stick in here. And then you just push it up underneath these other ones, and you're just basically turning it into a knot. You just want to get at least a couple in. And if you're having trouble with this, you could use needle nose pliers or something like that. But usually if you just loosen it a little bit, it'll let you push this up in. tightened up real tight so it doesn't come loose. And then when it gets a little drier, I'll cut that off because these are all real wet right now, so they'll get tighter as they dry. And like I say, you can trim some of the fringe off if you want it. And that's like nice and neat. Trim this off just so you don't have to look at it. And there it is. Your little teapot handle and a lid.
Wow. Well, thanks, Bob. That
Yeah,
was like so quick and looks so good. I hope everybody
It's
gets a load of this video.
It makes it even more handmade. So.
Well, thanks again.
Oh, you're welcome, Don. Glad to do it.
And please, if you like the video, think about subscribing and like this thing. And we always love to see one of your finished products if you try it out. So we're Don Hall Works. Thanks so much.